All right. How you be? I'd be good. Picked up a little project for, I'd say, dirt cheap. It's a case DX18E. They're kind of rare. It's the same thing as a New Holland TC18. In fact, New Holland builds this. The engine is a Japanese engine built for Ford. All the Ford small tractors have this engine. It's a four-wheel drive. Has a 3-point hitch. Cosmetically, it's pretty beat up. As you can see, the upper link contacted the body because this was aftermarket or homemade. Somebody made this, and I guess it's too tall for the design. But I've seen a few of these online that same problem. It has a bottom PTO and a rear. Mower deck does work. It cuts grass. It has a very bad diesel leak. The hydrostatic pedals stick, so if you're pushing it forward and let off, it still rolls forward. Someone wrecked the front end, but that's not why they parked it. They parked this about 1.5 years ago. They ran it out of diesel. They put more diesel, got it back running, and they had a problem to where after sometimes 20 minutes of running, the engine would die. It's like it was starting for fuel. An hour later, fire back up. Sometimes it'd be 2 hours running, and it would have the same problem. They pulled the fuel tank off, which you have to disassemble the entire back half of the mower to get to that fuel tank. But anyway, it's my project now. I suspect the problem they had was that diesel leak they didn't know about. They thought it was motor oil leaking. Somewhere behind this panel, there's 2 fuel lines that run right here. One of them is leaking while it's running and dripping down on the deck, and I can feel it is diesel. So I'm assuming it was sucking air into the diesel system, and that was causing their problems. But I hadn't torn it yet. I've only ran it for about a 1/2 hour. My brother ran it for an hour, cut grass with it. It's just a little Japanese engine. I'll get the serial tag in there. Don't ask me to pronounce that. But she runs fine. Like I said, cuts. It has very low ground clearance. There's a hydraulic filter on the bottom. It's a little bit low on hydraulic oil. The filter is leaking. I do have a new filter. I have a new oil filter. I have new oil. But somewhere down here, there's a hydraulic filter behind the drive shaft. See that white thing? This thing's got maybe 6 inches of ground clearance at max. So I'm about to build a guard over that filter and that drive shaft because I got some cypress knees in my trail that I have to go over. And I don't want to tear this thing up. But yeah, the filter housing is leaking at the seal for the filter housing. I have a new filter. The engine oil filter, we wasn't sure if that was leaking because they told me there's an engine oil leak, but it turned out to be diesel. But I'm going to change the engine oil and the filter anyway. Everything is functional except for the gauge cluster. Gauge cluster, let me see if it's going to start up. It does have a high-low gearbox, hydrostatic, and I tell you, in low, this thing is very powerful. My brother used this thing probably about 10 years ago. His Jeep was stuck in a ditch. This little tractor pulled that Jeep out sideways up a 4-foot bank, probably a 40-degree angle, 4 foot. This little tractor pulled it. So I'm happy to add to the collection. I'm thinking about building a front end loader for it, being it is 4-wheel drive, but it's gonna need a complete run-through service and maintenance. I know offloader off the trailer, this side of the diff had water dripping out. There was water inside the diff, so the axle, I'm sure it needs to be serviced. About 2 or 3 years ago, my brother rebuilt one side. I want to say it was this side. A bearing got ruined. Cost him about $1,000 for parts. So I guess for now I'm gonna do the maintenance items, get the quit leaking fuel, see how it goes, and in the future I look forward to doing a homemade front end loader. A good little project. I believe it weighs 13 or 1400 pounds, and just what I need. Thank you all for viewing.